How's it going, everybody? Blaine here for Bridgeport Games, and we have another event recap for everybody out there. This time, though, it does have two pretty unique things going for it, which are going to make this a very interesting video. So first and foremost, it was actually hosted by Mount Silver. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, other than being the place where you fight Red in Pokemon Gold and Silver, shout out to all the old school players out there. It also is a Discord group where there's a lot of very, very top players in there who are really, really good and very, very talented at VGC. So we're going to see some unorthodox choices on Mons, but rest assured that everybody involved in the event knew what they were doing. Additionally, there are some, like I said, unusual Mon choices there, which we are going to touch on in just a moment. So we're going to hop over and take a look at the teams in just a moment. But first, let me remind you that if you like this video, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel to join our amazing, amazing Pokemon community, because we have videos like this going up every single day and you're not going to want to miss them. That's all I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and get started. So, as you guys can see here, first place was Atmosphere VGC. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find his team or any of the top cut teams here. I don't know why they weren't really available anywhere, but I tried. So we have this to go off of. So what we have here, Atmosphere is running a lot of interesting Mons, I gotta say. So Atmosphere is using a Dusk main Necrozma, first of all, which is interesting, but it also makes sense. So it's very similar in this format to Zacian. So it has the Dark Psychic typing, or excuse me, the Psychic Steel typing instead of the Fairy Steel typing. So it is still going to be weak to things like Fire and Ground. However, you know, it's going to be weak to Dark as well, which a lot of people are mentioning could be kind of an issue with some of the Mons we have. Okay, yeah, and aside from its typing, it has kind of a unique speed stat. It's a base 77 speed, so it's not very fast. It's also not all that slow. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, it does have access to Trick Room, which they may be using here because he does have a Raquanid. But I believe he was using Sunsteel Strike. I did see that on a report somewhere. So yeah, he's got that Duskmane Necrozma, and then he's also bringing Incineroar, Raquanid, Serena, which we are seeing pick up majorly. So if you do see, you know, if you're a team that doesn't necessarily need Rillaboom and you're afraid of Rillaboom, but you also want like Grassmons, consider Serena. It's really good right now because it stops Fake Out, it stops Grassy Glide. It's a very interesting Mon, and it's actually really pretty solid in this meta. And then, sorry to go off on a tangent there, it also has Landorus Incarnate and Tapu Koko. Now, Tapu Koko is an interesting pick because in almost every way, aside from arguably bulk, it is worse than Regieleki. I assume because he doesn't have Zacian, he's probably bringing Tapu Koko to help with fairy coverage. But there's really no way to be sure. Very, very interesting team. We're finally seeing a Raquanid take, you know, a really solid top cut here. And this is really a sign of kind of where things may be going away from the norm. Because, you know, we're seeing a lot of unorthodox strategies here starting to develop. And Landorus Eye and things like Serena are really starting to become high-level choices that are made in this metagame to counter a lot of what we're seeing. Moving on to, you know, our second place team here. Speaking of unorthodox, we have the Ho-Oh team making a return. Now, as it was said in the comments last time, I am aware Gastrodon has Storm Drain, and he also had a Mon with Wide Guard. I believe, does Mineshow have the Wide Guard? I think it may. Hold on. I'm going to actually pull this up real quick, guys. Nothing is too good for our viewers. I want to make sure we are getting you at least the best type of information I can possibly provide. Yeah, Mineshow does have Wide Guard, which is pretty appealing because it does stop Rock Slides, which are always going to be an issue. It also stops Water Spouts, as does Storm Drain. So, assuming that's what, you know, our second place finisher here, Mova VGC, assuming that's where they're going with this, it makes a lot of sense. So we do have the Ho-Oh, we have Gastrodon. Again, Rillaboom and Incineroar, the reason why Serena is so popular right now. And last but not least, we have our Nihilego. And then Mineshow, of course. So, Nihilego can be used a couple different ways. It could be a Power Herb. It could also be Trick Room. Here's the thing. I like Nihilego quite a lot as a Pokemon. I personally don't like it in this format at all. That's going to be kind of a bold statement, I know. I don't like it whatsoever because you're in a format, right, where you have Zacians running around everywhere and you have a ton of Mons bringing ground moves. You have more than one Landorus you have to worry about right now. And I feel like it's just a Mon that's kind of... in my opinion, it's not quite worth what it's bringing to the table. But that being said, this gentleman here, or lady, whoever this may be, or anything else, may not, obviously loves Nihilego, and they obviously don't have a problem using it. So congrats to them on getting second here. So third up, we have Chuckle VGC. Chuckle is kind of going back to form here for what the format has become so far. We do have a Zacian with a Regieleki. Again, standard stuff. And we see a Landorus Incarnate, a Rillaboom, an Incineroar, and an Amoonguss. Now, all of these are very interesting Mons. Amoonguss is especially good. It can, deal with opposing Mons that are problematic. And, honestly, there's not that much to say here. It's pretty, self-explanatory. But it does have Landorus Incarnate. Now, usually on this team, we'd be used to seeing Landorus Therian, so it's interesting that we're seeing the other one. It may be that people are, worried about, competitive or Defiant Mons. It may also be the case that people are just looking for a more special attacking, hard-hitting type of Landorus, because it also gets access to those poison moves. So that could certainly be a reason why people are making the switch. We obviously don't know for sure, but it's a very interesting thing to speculate on, because Landorus Incarnate is definitely seeing a lot of usage now, and it's pretty fascinating. Moving on to Team 4 here by Yokai. We have another Ho-Oh, which is very interesting. This one, at a glance, doesn't seem to have the same defensive structure built in. I know Celesteela gets Wide Guard. I mean, there's no Storm Drain here, which is obviously kind of an issue. But again, Kyogre has kind of been pushed out of the format, so maybe he's running with a good old plan of hope to not play it, which, if it works for you, more power to you. So he's got Ho-Oh, Regieleki, Landorus Incarnate, Celesteela, Drampa, and Grimmsnarl. The Regieleki and the Landorus Eye really are pretty self-explanatory. They are just there to slow the opponent down, do a ton of damage, be immune to electric, all that good stuff. I don't know how I feel about bringing two heavy hitters that are very weak to water. That does make me a little concerned with this team, so if you are planning to use those two Mons together, make sure that you have an answer prepared, because you're going to need it. Celesteela is very cool. I would be a little worried about running it, just because there are a lot of Regieleki in the format right now, but again, if you can mitigate that problem however you see fit, congratulations, please do it, because Celesteela is an amazing Pokemon. Then we have Drampa and Grimmsnarl. Again, it looks almost... I don't know what the Drampa is doing. I know it can use, Throat Spray with Hyper Voice. That's certainly a possibility. It looks like he may have brought some kind of a Trick Room package in Celesteela and Drampa, perhaps if his opponent was going for, a hard Trick Room mode. But yeah, very unusual team. Very cool to see. So, Yokai, congrats. And it's especially interesting to see the Ho-Ohs above the next four teams, because the next four teams, I mean, I probably would not have, in my headcanon, before the event was going, I probably would not have given it to the Ho-Ohs, but here we are. So, in our first top 8 spot here, we have Lemon Pie VGC using a Shadow Calyrex team. Now, it's also using a Mind Shell, probably a Wide Guard Mon if I had to guess. And with it, they are bringing Rillaboom, Entei, Regieleki, and of course, that Weezing. So, Weezing can do a couple different things. It can reset terrain, which is very, very useful. Particularly if you know you're going to underspeed most of the format. If you if you eventually flicker their abilities, turn them off and turn them back on, you can get a lot of value out of it. And it's really, really interesting, because also, Neutralizing Gas doesn't work on the As-1. So you can turn off other Pokemon's abilities and still keep your own, which is very, very helpful in and of itself. It can just turn off a lot of interesting things in the format. So, for one, it turns off Fairy Aura, which is very, very cool. It turns off Intrepid Sword. It does bring it back, though, if you switch out, so you don't want to do that. But yeah, gets rid of Intimidates, gets rid of things like, Sheer Force on the Landorus there. So there's a lot of options for what they're both doing with these Weezings. So it's very cool to see that Mon being used. Again, Entei is a very cool Mon as well. Fire is an amazing type to have. I'm not really sure why they're not using Incineroar, but again, this Entei is immune to Incineroar and probably hits a little harder than Incineroar, so it's a very cool thing to see. In 5th place here, our second top 8, I should say, we have Lorisaur. If I said your name wrong, Lorisaur, I'm sorry. We have a Xerneas team, the only Xerneas team to make top cut. Again, not all that surprising because Xerneas is starting to not see a way out, but Zacian is very prevalent, and that's always kind of a problem. So Xerneas is coming with all 3 of its 3 Musketeer best friends, Rillaboom, Incineroar, and Volcarona. Nothing all that surprising there. And then we do have the Stakataka, who can bring Wide Guard, can bring Trick Room, can also just murder other Xerneas with its Gyro Ball. So definitely not surprising to see there. And then we also have the Suicune. Now, Suicune is a very interesting call, because we don't see it all that often. But Suicune is probably pretty solid against other Firemons and in the mirror match. So in another matchup with this team, you're going to see Incineroar and you're going to see Volcarona. Now, you're going to have your moves redirected potentially. So what you want is a Mon that isn't going to die to, like fire hits, and can potentially take a Dazzling Gleam or 2 from Xerneas. And Suicune is really bulky and can, obviously give you speed control, so it can help break the +2 speed ties. And it can also, with some of those amazing water moves, do a lot of damage to both Incineroar and Volcarona. So Suicune is a very cool Mon to see. It's starting to pick up some usage, so make sure that you guys keep an eye out for that, because you really need a way to deal with it. If you don't have a way to deal with it, it may catch you off guard, and that's the last thing you want to do. Now, in our 7th place team here, or our 3rd top 8, we have Strider VGC. Another Calyrex Shadow here with Mineshow. So obviously, we kind of talked about why. Regieleki is also pretty self-explanatory. It's there for slowing the opponent down, all that good stuff. Then we have Incineroar, again, over the Entei that we saw from Lemon Pie. So, it's obviously very self-explanatory. It's such a good Mon to have. It does everything you need it to. Then we see here a Kanto Weezing, which is cool. Now, again, it can reset terrains. It can let you use Intimidate over and over again, which may be an appealing aspect of it to, Strider here. So, again, a lot of different options for that, because you can shut down the opponent's abilities and keep your own with that Shadow Calyrex. And then, last but certainly not least, we have an Indeedee female. Great for giving Psychic Terrain, so you can use Expanding Force with that Calyrex. Also provides redirection support and a fire move in Mystic Fire itself. So, very, very good Mon to have. Wonderful to see. And last but not least, we have a Zacian. Now, one thing to notice about this team, guys, have you noticed something about this top 8 so far? Take a look. Take a minute. Just browse. Think about it for a second. This has been the first Urshifu that we've seen. That is pretty much unheard of for, this format. Urshifu has been very high on the usage stats, and it just isn't being used, which is really kind of shocking to me. It's really interesting and very unusual to see, and it's something that we don't see all that often, which is just, it makes it all the more interesting. So we have Al Runriz. Well, let's go back a few seconds and pretend I said their name right, and now let's continue. So we have a Zacian here. Again, nothing too unusual there. It's arguably the most popular Mon in the format right now, along with a Regieleki and a Landorus, albeit not the Landorus I was expecting, but Landorus Incarnate. And then we do have an Urshifu Rapid Strike here, so it is very premier Watermon, very good against those Incineroars. Excellent against all these Landorus that are popping up, which is wonderful too. And, then we see an Incineroar and a Mungus. So, again, nothing that out of the ordinary here. But again, congratulations to them for making top 8. And, again, this Landorus Incarnate that's really showing up is really crazy, because it's going to be representing a potential shift in the meta towards the, Incarnate form as opposed to the Therian form. So yeah, everybody, that's been the recap. Thank you so much for being here with me as we recap the Mount Silver event that just took place. A lot of really interesting teams and a lot of really interesting strategies that we saw start to come forward. Now remember, if you do like this video, please give us a like and consider subscribing to the channel to join our amazing Pokemon community. Again, we do have videos like this going up every single day, so please, you don't want to miss them. Make sure you're a part of the action and join our amazing, amazing Pokemon channel. That being said, everyone, keep an eye out. We are going to have another event going up, another event recap going up tomorrow, covering another top 8. And we're going to, again, keep our document updated, and we'll have usage stats for so far in the meta. So once the Series 10 actually drops, we can, release it and see kind of where things are going and what the trends have been so far. So again, everybody, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all in the next one. Again, I've been Blaine for Bridge 4 Games. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.